The lecture hall buzzed with the low hum of conversation until the door opened. I didn't even notice the sound die down until I looked up. "Good morning," she said, stepping in with a stack of papers in her arms. Her voice was calm, even, but the room seemed to straighten itself at the sound. She wrote her name on the board, Professor Charlotte Hale, then turned to us. "We'll begin with your essays," she said, scanning the room. "Some of you surprised me." Her eyes moved over faces like a spotlight, casual but searching. When they landed on mine, I forgot to breathe. Ethan Carter. It wasn't loud, but it might as well have been. "Yes," I managed. She held up a paper. "You like to write late at night?" I frowned. "How did you? You mentioned it in your opening paragraph." The corner of her mouth lifted. "It shows. I write like someone who doesn't sleep much." A few students chuckled. I felt heat rise in my neck. Is that bad? Her gaze lingered on me a second longer than necessary. Not at all. She placed the paper face down on her desk. It's memorable. The rest of class was a blur. I kept catching myself glancing at her, the way she leaned on the desk. When she asked questions, the subtle tilt of her head when someone answered wrong. Halfway through, she said, "Mr. Carter, your thoughts?" I cleared my throat. "About what?" "The symbolism in the second stanza." I looked at my notes. It's about longing. Wanting something you can't have, but dressing it up in metaphors so it feels safe to talk about. Her lips curved. Slow and approving. Interesting. Anyone else? When class ended, she stood by the desk, handing back essays.
Nice.
One by one, students left until I was near the front. "Ethan," she said again when I stepped up. Double quotes. "Yes." She slid my paper toward me. Her fingers grazed mine, not an accident, not rushed. A faint smile crossed her lips. "You have a good instinct for language. I'd like to talk more about it." I hesitated. "Like now." Her gaze was steady. "Tomorrow, after class? I'll only need a few minutes." "Sure," I said, but it came out softer than I meant. Her smile widened just slightly. "Good." I walked out feeling like I'd just agreed to something more than a conversation. That night, I couldn't get it out of my head the way she'd said my name, the way her fingers felt against mine, light but lingering. I told myself it was nothing, just a professor who liked my work. But every time I replayed it, the line between nothing and something blurred. The next day, I got to class early. She was already there, arranging books. "Morning," I said. She glanced up, eyes flicking over me. "Mr. Carter, you can call me Ethan," I said before thinking. Her eyebrow lifted. "Can I?" "Only if you want to," I muttered, feeling stupid. She smirked faintly. "Ethan, then." For the rest of the class, I barely heard the discussion. My mind kept circling the way she'd said it, softer this time, almost private. When the final student left, I stayed in my seat. "You remembered," she said, closing the classroom door. "You told me to," I said. She set a book on the desk between us. "I thought you might like this. It's not on the syllabus." I took it. "Why me?" "Because you think differently. Did you notice things?" "Like what?" Her gaze locked on mine. "Like how I'm not always as composed as I look." I swallowed. "I didn't. You did," she said, a hint of a laugh in her voice. "That's why I wanted to talk to you. Some people see more than they should." I flipped the book. "In my hands just to look away? Is that a good thing?" "That depends," she said, leaning slightly closer on what they do with what they see. My pulse kicked up. And what if they keep it to themselves? Her smile deepened. "Then we can keep talking." She stepped back, just enough to make the distance feel deliberate. "All right," she said, gathering her notes. "That's enough for today. Read the first 3 chapters before next time." I stood there holding the book, unsure if I'd just been invited into something or warned to stay out. "Ethan," she said as I reached the door. I looked back. Her eyes were calm, but something in them burned hotter. "I'll see you soon." I walked out with my chest tight, my thoughts loud, and a feeling I couldn't name but didn't want to lose. Asterisk, I knocked twice, and pushed the door open when I heard her voice. "Come in." The first thing that hit me was the smell. Coffee and something faintly like rain-soaked paper. She was leaning against her desk, sleeves rolled up, hair pinned loosely like she'd been running her hands through it. "You're early," she said. "I didn't want to keep you waiting." Her eyes swept over me briefly before she motioned. "To the chair across from her? Sit." I did, trying not to stare. She tilted her head. "You look distracted in class today." "Maybe I was," I said. "Maybe I was just thinking. About—" I hesitated. "About what you said yesterday. That I noticed things." Her lips curved, slow and deliberate. "Did it bother you?" "Not exactly." "Then what?" she pressed. "It made me wonder what you think I've noticed." She studied me for a moment, like she was measuring the space between every word. "That I'm not as untouchable as I pretend to be." I let out a short laugh. "Is that supposed to be a confession?" "It's just an observation," she said, stepping closer. "One I suspect you've already made." The room felt warmer. I kept my voice steady. "You're not the kind of person people see through easily." "True," she said, leaning back against the desk again. "Which is why I find it interesting when someone does." "Interesting how?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for a book on her desk, flipped it over in her hands and held it out to me. "Here," she said. I took it. Her fingers brushed mine, light, slow, intentional. "What's this for?" I asked. "A test?" I smirked. "What happens if I fail?" Her smile deepened. "Then you'll have to try again, and if I pass." She held my gaze. "Then we'll see." Something in my chest tightened. "You always talk like this?" "Two people who can keep up," she said. I glanced down at the book, just to break her stare. "It's poetry." "It is," she said. "Which means you might actually have to feel something while reading it." "You think I don't?" "I think you hide it," she said softly. "People who hide things are more interesting." I swallowed. "So I'm an experiment to you." Her head tilted, the faintest smirk playing on her lips. "I wouldn't call it that." "What would you call it?" Her eyes didn't leave mine. Curiosity. I leaned forward a little. "Yours or mine?" "Both." We stayed like that. No movement, no sound, until she broke it with a glance at the clock. "I'm going to a poetry reading tonight," she said casually, though her tone felt anything but casual. "You should come." Tried to keep my voice even. "Isn't that weird? You and me?" Her smile was almost a challenge. "Don't worry, no one will know." "You say that like it's supposed to make me feel better, doesn't it?" she asked. "Not sure." She stepped closer, close enough that the faint scent of her perfume mixed with the coffee in the air. "Then consider it an exercise. In perspective, and if I say no?" Her gaze dropped briefly to my mouth before returning to my eyes. "Then I'll have to think of another way to test you." My pulse kicked up. "You really like making people uncomfortable, don't you?" "Only when they pretend they're not," she said, turning back toward her desk. 7:00, the cafe on 5th. Don't be late." I stood, the book still in my hand. "You're assuming I'm coming?" She glanced over her shoulder, smiling faintly. "You're curious. You'll come." I didn't answer. I just pushed the chair back in and walked toward the door. "Ethan," she said before I opened it. I looked back. Her eyes locked on mine. "Bring the book." I left her office with the weight of the book in my hands and her voice in my head. The hallway felt colder than the room I'd just been in. Every step toward the exit felt like I was heading somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to stop. The cafe was warm, lit by pools of gold from old hanging lamps. I spotted her in the corner, already seated, coat draped over the chair beside her. "You're early," I said, sliding into the seat across from her. "You're late," she replied, without looking up from the menu. "It's 2 minutes past 7. Her lips curved slightly. "And yet you're late?" I smirked. "Didn't realize you kept time that precisely." "I do," she said, finally meeting my eyes. "It's part of why I notice when people keep me waiting. I'll try harder. Next time." She tilted her head. "Depends on how this goes." Before she could respond, a man at the front began reading poetry. His voice was low, deliberate. She leaned in slightly. Listen to the words, not the tone. I thought tone mattered. Not here, she said. Here, it's the words. That give people away. The poem was about longing, about wanting someone but never being able to say it. I glanced at her. Is this your way of telling me something? She didn't look at me. Why would I tell you something I'm not supposed? 2, because you don't like rules. Her eyes flicked to mine, a small, knowing smile on her lips. Careful, Ethan. Another poem began, sharper this time, almost angry. She whispered, Do you hear it? The resentment. Yeah, I said quietly. Feels like the kind that builds when you can't let go. Her gaze lingered on me. You really do notice things, like how you sat close enough our knees keep brushing. Her eyes didn't move away. You haven't moved either. I leaned back slightly. Maybe I like where I am. The next poem ended, and applause broke out. She turned her head toward the stage. Make it sound dangerous? Maybe it is. Her laugh was soft, low, and it hit me harder than it should have. She reached for her coffee, her hand brushing my arm as she set it back down. The touch stayed longer than necessary. Accident. I asked. Her smile was calm, deliberate. No, we didn't talk for a while, just listened. But every poem after that felt like it was meant for us. When it was over, she stood, gathering her coat. Walk with me. Outside, the air was cooler, the street quieter. We walked side by side, the distance between us small but deliberate. That wasn't so bad, was it? She asked. Depends, I said. On whether you're going to tell me why you invited me? She kept walking. I wanted to see if you'd actually come, and now that I did, her eyes slid to mine. Now I know. That's all. She smiled faintly. For now. We reached the corner when I heard a voice. Charlotte. She stopped, the shift in her body instant, tense, rigid. A man stepped out from the shadow near the cafe wall. Older, maybe mid-30s, broad-shouldered. His eyes went from her to me in one sharp sweep. Who's this? None of your business, she said, her tone flat. He took a step closer. You didn't answer my call. I didn't feel like talking. His jaw tightened. That's not how this works. I stepped slightly forward, but her hand shot out, brushing my arm in warning. Don't, she said under her breath. The man's eyes locked on me again. You a student? I said nothing. Charlotte's voice was sharp. Go home, David. So you're on a first-name basis with your students now? He said, ignoring her. That's enough, she snapped. He glanced at her hand still near my arm, his expression darkening. You haven't changed. Her tone dropped lower, colder. Leave, David. For a moment, I thought he might not. Then he stepped back, shaking his head. You always did like trouble. He turned and walked away, disappearing into the street. Looked at her. You want to explain that? Her eyes stayed on the pavement. Not tonight. Charlotte? Not tonight, Ethan, she said again, firmer. Go home, I hesitated. Is he? She cut me off. Please. There was something in her voice, not fear exactly, but a weight I didn't understand. All right, I said finally. She nodded once, then walked in the opposite direction without looking back. I stood there for a long time. It's the sound of her footsteps fading, the night colder now. Whoever that man was, he wasn't just a stranger, and whatever was between them, it wasn't over. Asterisk class felt colder that morning. She didn't glance my way once. When she called my name for an answer, her voice was neutral. Ethan. Yes, I said quickly, giving the correct response. She nodded, then moved on. No smile. No flicker of anything. I kept my head down, but my mind was still on last night. On the man, his tone. The way her hand had stopped me. When the lecture ended, she stacked her papers. Carter, my office now. A few heads turned. I stood and followed her down the hall inside. The door shut behind me with a soft click. You're quiet, she said, moving around her desk. So are you. I replied, I'm the professor. I'm allowed to be. I leaned against the edge of a chair. Last night, we're not talking about that here. She cut in, her gaze steady. Then why am I here? Her mouth curved slightly. Maybe I wanted to see if you'd still come. You told me to go home. And yet here you are, I smirked. Maybe I don't follow instructions well? Her eyes lingered on me. That's not always a good thing. Depends who's giving them. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "You didn't answer my question from before." Question, the one I didn't ask out loud. I tilted my head. You're going to have to be more specific. She stepped closer. Why do you keep showing up? I exhaled. Because you make it impossible not to. Her eyes softened, just barely. Some people are worth the risk, Ethan. Am I one of them? She didn't answer. Instead, she brushed past me to the bookshelf, fingers trailing along the spines. Before she pulled one free, "This," she said, handing it to me, "is your next assignment. And no, it's not on the syllabus." I glanced at the cover, and if I refuse, her voice was low. "You won't." I set it on her desk. "You're sure of that?" Her hand touched mine, not by accident, not rushed. Softer this time, deliberate, very sure. The air between us felt charged, heavier than it should have. I swallowed. You know, this isn't normal, right? Neither are you. I gave a short laugh. Not sure that's a compliment. It is, she said simply. For a second I thought she might say more, but she stepped back, the moment breaking. You should go, she said. That's it. For now, I lingered at the door. You keep saying that. She smiled faintly. Because it's true. The hallway felt too bright after her office, the buzz of students too loud. I didn't realize how fast my pulse had been until it started to slow. By the time I reached the library, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Stay away from her, I stared at the message. No name, no explanation. Another buzz. Last warning. I looked over. My shoulder. Nothing but a couple of students heading upstairs. I typed back. Who is this? No response. I pocketed the phone, but my hands felt tight, restless. Whoever it was knew enough to find my number. They knew about her. Later, as I was leaving campus, I spotted her across the courtyard. She was speaking to someone, not the man from last night, but her stance was guarded, her smile strained. I started toward her, but she saw me and shook her head almost imperceptibly. I stopped. The man she was talking to glanced at me, then back at her. She said something I couldn't hear, then walked away, her pace quick. By the time I caught up, she was halfway to the parking lot. Who was that? I asked. She didn't slow. Nobody you need to worry about. It's funny, someone texted me. The same thing, except they said it about you. Her steps faltered just slightly. And you believed them? I didn't say that. Her eyes met mine briefly. Good. That's all you're going to say? That's all you need to know right now? I stared at her. You keep saying that too? She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. Some lines are meant to fade, Ethan. Doesn't mean you get to cross them. I mean, if I already have. Her lips curved just enough to be dangerous. Then you'd better be ready for what's on the other side. She walked away before I could answer. Click of her heels fading into the distance. I stood there, phone still in my pocket, the words from that text echoing in my head. Stay away from her. Yeah, not a chance. Who sent it? I asked. Her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. Just for a second, quick, almost invisible, but I saw it. Sent what? She asked the text. Stay away from her. Her brow lifted. Ethan, I don't know what you're talking about. You hesitated. I was thinking, she said smoothly. Right? And you're saying you have no idea who's warning me off you? She set her cup down. Someone texted you that? Maybe you should listen? Is that you telling me too? Her eyes held mine. No, it's me telling you I can't control other people. It's not an answer, it's the only one you're getting. I leaned in slightly. Why do I feel like you know exactly who it was? Because you think I'm keeping secrets, she said. And you're not entirely wrong. I saw her again later in the courtyard. She was alone on a bench, her shoulders hunched, wiping. At her eyes quickly when she noticed me. You okay? I asked. She gave a small laugh. That's a dangerous question. Try me. She stared at the ground for a moment, then said, I'm separated. I sat beside her. From my husband. That explained more than it should have, and he's not okay with that. Her jaw tightened. He's the kind of man who doesn't let go. Not of people. Not of control. I exhaled slowly. Man from the other night, she cut in. Don't ask. You think he sent the text? Her silence was answer enough. I'm not afraid of him, I said. Her eyes flicked to mine. You should be. Not happening. She gave a humorless smile. You think this is a game? He's dangerous, Ethan. And he has a way of making. Sure, people regret crossing him, and maybe he should regret crossing me. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to argue, but instead, she just studied me. You don't know what you're walking into, she said. I know. Enough. Her gaze softened, but there was something else behind it. Something heavier. You think you're helping me? Maybe you are. But you're also making this harder. I tilted my head. On you. Or on me. Her voice dropped. Both. For a while, we didn't speak. The courtyard was quiet except for the wind. I finally said, You could tell me to leave. I'd listen. She looked at me like she didn't believe that for a second. No, you wouldn't. Try me. Her lips curved faintly, almost sad. Ethan, you make me forget how bad things really are. That's dangerous. Or maybe. That's the point. She let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. You don't quit, do you? Not when it matters. Shh. She stood suddenly, brushing her hands over her coat. I have to go. That's it. And just like that, she walked away, her heels clicking against the pavement until she disappeared around the corner. That night, I couldn't focus on anything. Every time I tried to read, my mind replayed her voice, her eyes, that flicker of vulnerability she'd tried to hide. My phone was face down on the table. But when it buzzed, I grabbed it instantly. Unknown number calling. I almost didn't answer. Almost, hello. There was a pause. Then, soft and trembling, her voice. I need to see you now. Charlotte, please. Don't ask questions. Just come. My pulse kicked hard. Where? She told me, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm on my way, said. And before I could say anything else, the line went dead. Asterisk, I knocked. Once, the door opened almost immediately. Ethan, she said, her voice low. Come in. Her apartment was dim, the scent of red wine and lavender curling in the air. You okay? I asked. She closed the door softly. Not really. I didn't call you here to talk about that. Sit. I sank onto the couch. Then what did you call me for? She disappeared into the kitchen, turning with 2 glasses of wine. Maybe I just didn't want to be alone, she said. I took the glass. I can do that. Her hair was loose, falling over her shoulders. She was barefoot, wrapped in a cardigan that hung open just enough to feel dangerous. You look different, said. She smiled faintly. Better or worse? Different. I repeated. We drank in silence for a moment before she asked, Why do you keep showing up for me? 'Cause you keep calling, I said. Her eyes lingered on mine. That's not the only reason, I shrugged. Maybe I just like you. Her laugh was quiet, almost sad. You don't even know me. I'm trying to. We talked about nothing, music, books, the worst coffee we'd ever had. Her laughter came easier after the second glass. You're not what I expected. She said, What did you expect? Someone who'd keep his distance? Why would I do that? And she glanced away. Because I keep telling you, I'm trouble. Maybe I don't believe you. You should, she said softly. I leaned back, watching her. If I was smart, I'd leave right now. But you're not leaving, she said. No. The conversation slowed, stretching into comfortable silence. She sat beside me on the couch, her shoulder brushing mine. Her voice was barely above a whisper. It's strange I feel safer with you here. Not sure I'm the safe choice, I said, her head tilted, resting lightly against mine. Neither am I. The world outside faded, just the warmth of her next to me, the sound of her breath, the faint scent of wine on her skin. Her hand moved slightly, fingers grazing mine. It was nothing, barely contact, but it changed everything. I looked at her. She didn't move away. Charlotte, don't say it, she murmured. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Her gaze flicked to my mouth, then back to my eyes. I'm Not supposed to want this? She said. Do you? Her lips parted, but she didn't answer. She didn't have to. Then it happened, a sharp, urgent knock at the door. We froze. She went completely still, the color draining from her face. Who is it? I asked. Her eyes were locked on the door. Don't say anything. A knock came again, harder this time. She set her wine glass down, her hands trembling. You need to go now. Charlotte, please, she said, her voice breaking, just enough for me to hear it. You can't be here when I open that door. Tell me who it is. She shook her head quickly. Later, just go. The knocking grew louder, almost pounding. Her breath came faster. Ethan, please? I hesitated, every instinct telling me to stay. But the fear in her eyes wasn't for herself. It was for me. I stood slowly. I'll be downstairs. She didn't answer. She just moved toward the door, hand hovering over the handle, her whole body tense. I slipped out the back, the echo of that knock still pounding in my chest. Asterisk, the pounding was relentless. Who is it? I whispered. She didn't look at me. Go, now. Before I could move, the door swung open, and a tall man filled the doorway. His eyes locked on her. Charlotte, he said, voice low but edged like a blade. David, what are you doing here? It called, you didn't answer? His gaze swept the apartment. Who else is here? No one, she said quickly. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. You're lying. I tensed, still frozen near the hallway. She caught my arm and shoved me into the kitchen. Don't move, she whispered, eyes fierce. I pressed against the counter, hidden from view, every muscle tight. I told you, I needed space, she said from the living room. You needed space? His voice rose. From your own husband? Yes, she snapped. A pause. Then, softer. Charlotte, we can fix this. Just come home. I'm not coming home, she said. His tone hardened. Because of him? My hands curled into fists. You think he's different? David scoffed. He's not. He won't be around when this gets hard. I'm not discussing this, she said. You don't get to shut me out. I already have. The sound of glass clinking, maybe her whine, then his voice colder. You're making a mistake. I've made enough mistakes. She replied. My chest ached with the urge to walk in there, to stand between them. But her last look told me she didn't want that. Not now. The front door opened. This isn't over, David said. Good night, David. The door slammed. Silence. I stepped out slowly. Charlotte. She was on the couch, head in her hands. I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending, she whispered. Pretending what? I asked. That I don't feel this. She looked up, eyes shining. Then she reached out, fingers brushing my face like she wasn't sure she had permission. Her touch was light, almost trembling. I can't stop thinking about you, she said. Her late-night texts were becoming a habit I couldn't break. Are you awake? I can't sleep. Keep thinking about you. I'd stare at the screen knowing I should put the phone down, but my fingers always replied. That evening her message was, different. Library. 10 o'clock. Alone. The library was dim, the air cool and still. My footsteps sounded too loud on the carpet as I searched the stacks. She stepped out from between the shelves. You came, you asked. Her hair was tied loosely, strands falling over her face. She looked around as if the walls might be. Listening. We can't keep meeting like this, she said. Then why did you call me here? Because I needed to see you. I leaned on the shelf. Charlotte, what are we doing? She closed her eyes briefly, something reckless. Reckless doesn't even begin to cover it. Her voice softened. I'm falling for you. The words hit harder than I expected. You can't say that and expect me to walk away. That's exactly why I said it here, she whispered. Glancing at the door, because this can't happen, stepped closer. You think if you say it in a library, I'll hear the echo, and it'll scare me off? I think if I say it anywhere else, I won't be able to stop myself. Eyes held mine unblinking. The air between us thickened, too heavy to breathe. Then tell me to leave, I said. She didn't. Her gaze flicked down, lingering at my lips. Charlotte, she shook her head, almost smiling. Da. You make it impossible to think straight. Not trying to make you think, I said quietly. That's the problem. Silence wrapped around us. Somewhere far off, a clock ticked. If anyone saw us, she began, they won't. You don't know that. I don't care, you should. Do you? Her breath caught. I'm trying to. Took a step closer. Tell me you don't want this, and I'll walk away right now. Her lips parted, but no words came. Charlotte, my voice was low now, dangerous even to my own ears. Her fingers brushed the edge of the shelf like she needed something to hold on to. It's not about wanting. It's about surviving. Ain't my chest tightened. Is he hurting you? She looked away. Not the way you think. Then how? Her voice dropped to a whisper. Control can be quieter than shouting. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing against me. You don't have to stay with him, I said. It's not that simple, it could be. She gave a short, sad laugh. You think love is enough? I think it's worth the risk. Her eyes shimmered. And if it destroys you, then at least I'll know it was for something real. She exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding her breath for years. Her hand lifted, barely touching my arm. The heat from her skin burned through the space between us. We shouldn't, she whispered. We already are. The air felt charged, like the moment before a storm. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Then a deep voice broke the silence. Charlotte. We both froze. She turned slowly, color draining from her face at the end of the aisle. David stood. David's voice hit me like a cold slap. So you're the one stealing my wife. What? My pulse pounded. That's not what's happening. It's then. Tell me what is happening. His steps were slow, deliberate, closing the space between us. Before I could speak, Charlotte moved in front of me. David, stop. Stop. He laughed, low and dangerous. You've been disappearing, coming home late, and now I find you here. It's not what you think. Oh, it's exactly what I think, he said. His eyes locked on mine. I swallowed hard. You're wrong. Then prove it. His gaze was a blade pressed to my throat. Charlotte's voice trembled. He's just my student. The words stabbed deeper than any knife. Student, that was all I was. David smirked. Glad we cleared that up. I looked at her, searching for something in her eyes. Regret, apology, anything. But her gaze stayed fixed on the floor. Right, I said, my voice flat. Glad we cleared it up. I turned and walked away, my footsteps echoing in the silence. Her voice didn't follow me. Not once did she call my name. The air outside felt colder than it should have. I didn't stop walking until the library was nothing but a shadow behind me. Every word she'd said kept replaying like some cruel loop. He's just my student. That was the truth she'd chosen to tell. I didn't see her. After that night, the week stretched out like it wanted to punish me, days heavy with the memory of her standing there, choosing him in front of me. My phone stayed silent. Every time it lit up, I hoped. Every time it wasn't her. 7 days later, I came home to find an envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just my name in her handwriting. I stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at it. When I finally tore it open, a single slip of paper slid out. 3 words, written small but sharp enough to cut. I'm sorry, I read it twice. 3 times. It didn't change. She was sorry, but sorry didn't undo the way her voice had broken me that night. Sorry didn't change her choice. I folded the note, placed it back inside the envelope, and left it on the counter. I didn't know if I'd ever answer her. But I knew one thing. Those 3 words meant the story wasn't over. Not yet. Ethan? You heard she's gone, right? I looked up from my coffee. Gone, resigned, packed up. Just left. When? A couple weeks ago. And David? He took almost everything. I stared at the table, letting the steam blur my view. Right? You okay? I'm fine. It was a lie. But it was easier than explaining the hollow space I'd been carrying for months. Rain came early that evening, drumming against my jacket as I walked home. The streets were slick, lamplight bending in the puddles. Halfway down the block, I saw her, Charlotte. She stood under a streetlight, hair damp, coat clutched close. She looked like she'd stepped out of a memory I'd tried to bury. I slowed. Charlotte. Her head turned slightly. Her eyes found mine. "You look different," I said. "So do you." Her voice was soft, barely louder than the rain. "Why? Didn't you tell me you were leaving?" She glanced at the wet pavement. "Would it have changed anything?" "Yes," I said without thinking. "It would have given me a chance to what?" She interrupted. "To fight for you." Breath caught. "You had your chance. And you had yours," I said. For a moment, all I could hear was rain on metal, rain on glass, rain on skin. "I'm not the same person I was," she whispered. "I'm not either," I said. "But maybe that's the point," like she looked at me then really looked like she was weighing every word I'd ever said to her. "I thought about calling," she said. "Why didn't you?" "Because I didn't know if you'd answer. I would have." Her lips curved, but it wasn't a smile. "You say that now?" I stepped closer, the rain catching in my collar. "Charlotte, don't," she said quickly. "I'm not." "Here to make this harder? Then why are you here?" "'Cause you're standing under a streetlight like you're waiting for me." Her eyes flickered. Maybe I was. We stayed there, the distance between us small enough that I could hear her breath over the rain. "You could come with me," she said suddenly. "Where?" "Anywhere, away from all this." "And then what?" Her voice broke. "I don't know." I searched her face for the girl who'd once whispered she couldn't stop thinking about me. She was there, but quieter now, buried under something. "Heavier you left without saying goodbye," I said. "You walked away first," she answered. The truth stung because it was fair. A car passed, spraying water across the curb. Neither of us moved. "I thought leaving would make it easier," she said, "and did it?" "No," she admitted. "Then why keep walking away now?" She swallowed, eyes glistening. "Because if I don't, I might stay." Her words sank into me like cold rain through fabric. "Charlotte," I said, my voice low, "staying doesn't have to be the wrong choice." She shook her head. "It's not about right or wrong. It's about what's left after, and what's left." Hesitated. "Too much we can't fix." The light above us buzzed faintly, the rain growing steadier. I felt the moment slipping like water between fingers. "Say something," I whispered. She looked at me one last time. "Good night, Ethan." And then she turned, walking into the rain without looking back. I stood there long after she disappeared, into the shadows. Some endings aren't sharp. They don't tear clean. They just stay, and in the quiet hours they echo.